All right, good morning, everyone. Today we're going to talk about, five signs that you have been hacked and basically how to fix it. You have to remember today, in today's situation with the corona and everything else, everybody their computers and the internet for many different functions. So what happens these days is that the amount of users on the internet has basically grown exponentially, and it's never going to go back to be the same after this era of the coronavirus. Okay, so just so you know that, well, we all know that this is just an ongoing situation, and it's going to get even more use as we go forward. So the idea for this video today is to kind of like give you some pointers and some tips as to like how to know, gain a little knowledge as to how to, what happens when you get hacked, how that looks like, and also the things that you can do to actually fix it or prevent it at the same time. All right. Before we go any further, I would really like to would really like to thank you guys for supporting the previous videos. But I think that we could get a little more support, gain a little more traction in the way of subscribers. I would really appreciate that. So please smash, destroy, whatever it is, the like button, and also subscribe too, because I'm trying to bring you some good content that will be of help to you in the space of technology and computers. Okay. So I will basically see you on the next scene, and I will start with the first tip, and we will discuss that piece right there. All right, tip number one. Your computer seems to work on its own. Basically, this is how it looks like. You finish for the day, and then you close your lid or you lock the computer, and then you walk away. Sometimes the computer seems to be going. You hear the fan spinning. Sometimes videos start on their own without you clicking the play button, or some other tasks will be running. It doesn't necessarily mean that you've been hacked, because that could also be like your antivirus. So if your antivirus is basically scanning your machine for viruses, it will sound like there is activity going on. But sometimes it could also be that a program that was installed in your computer is actually being activated remotely, and then the system is like looking through your files and trying to break your passwords through your browser or things of that nature. So keep in mind that that doesn't necessarily mean that you've been hacked, but it could be. Okay, so keep that in mind. I will see you on the next tip. All right, tip number two. You start noticing pop-ups of your computer being infected or about increasing the performance of your computer. What happened here is that more than likely you probably downloaded some software, and then basically you just kind of chose to do the automatic install, and then it actually infected your computer with other viruses. Okay, a lot of the times when this happens, your computer is like really slow, and then the only thing that will continue to happen is that you continue to get pop-ups. In some cases, it's about your computer being too slow. If you use the software, we will make your computer faster. And then I will caution you to be extremely careful with accepting those offers, because in many cases what happens is that that same software ends up basically installing a backdoor in your computer, and then so you end up paying to get hacked. Not to mention the fact that it's very possible that they could also gain access to your credit card numbers and your personal information. So it's like a triple-edged sword. At this point, I will suggest to bring your computer to a qualified individual, to a computer shop that could tell you more or less what they could do for your computer. And it's even a possibility that you might even lose your files, because sometimes the virus hides itself within your files. Okay, so try to take it to a well-known shop that knows how to deal with computers, and then see if they can help you out on that at that point. But I will tell you even if the virus is sort of like goes away, be very careful to continue to use that computer that once been infected, and then to continue to handle personal information, because you don't know what's left behind. Okay, so just you have to be careful. You have to get clearance from somebody that knows how to work in computers, that knows how viruses behave, and then at that particular point, you will be able to say, okay, the computer was restored to factory defaults. The computer is going to be scanned 2 or 3 times. You don't see the symptoms anymore. At least I will tell you that you could possibly say, all right, maybe the problem was corrected. All right. So keep that in mind. I will see you on the next tip. All right. Tip number 3. You notice new programs being installed on your computer. They have been installed, and then basically you scratching your head and thinking, well, why is this software here? I never installed this software. More than likely, the reason for that is because you ended up downloading a piece of software that you was intended to use or to try out, and then when you downloaded that software, for one, you didn't go to the manufacturer's website. Okay, and for second, when you was installing that particular piece of software, then there was some options about automatic install or express install or something along those lines, but you will also have what is called custom install. Usually choose that option because that option sort of like breaks down to you what is going to be installed. Okay, if you see something other than the software that you pretending to install, then more than likely I will recommend not to install the piece of software. All right. So once your machine gets infected in that aspect, it's also again very difficult to recover from that, other than complete whiteout, factory factory defaults configurations. All right. So just be careful with that one, because that particular one is a very common way of infecting your computer with viruses. All right. So I will see you on the next tip. All right. Tip number 4. Your mouse acts strange. All right. The first thing I will tell you about this particular situation is, make sure that it's not that your mouse is going bad. You know, if it has batteries, install new batteries in your mouse. If it's a USB mouse, let's say for example, try with another computer if you have one available. Sometimes you could even do a visual inspection of the mouse and you'll see broken parts. If you shake the mouse and you'll probably hear something rattling inside, well, maybe that's a broken mouse. However, if it's not, then there are some viruses that will install a backdoor that will give them pretty much total control of your system. So even your mouse movements, and sometimes when you type in passwords, they will also be able to log the keyboard strokes, and then they will be able to see what the passwords are. So all the information will be available to them. Again, if your mouse acts strange and you verify that it's not a bad mouse that is causing the problem, more than likely you've been infected with a virus. Okay, I will say at this point, take it to a local shop, have them look at it, and have them work with you and tell you what will be the best option to correct that problem. Because what you don't want to do is to continue to use that machine, especially if you suspect that a backdoor has given the hackers control of your machine. All right, so be very careful with this particular one. All right, I will see you on the next tip. Okay, tip number 5, final tip. So one of the things that happens sometimes is that you notice that your antivirus and or firewall software are disabled. Just know that in a lot of these Windows, especially, Windows comes preloaded in some instances, in most instances, with antivirus protection software and also with firewall. So basically, if these programs are disabled, in some instances you start getting pop-ups, you start getting messages from Windows telling you that those are being disabled. The reason why those become disabled is because in many cases, when a virus is installed in your computer that is basically um, going in and out of your machine from ports that are usually closed by the firewall, what they do, they basically disable the firewall. So that way they could freely go in and out of those ports that are usually closed by the firewall. Usually the function of the firewall or the configurations from the firewall are to close all of the ports and then only open certain ones that are used, such as like the internet, email, and those type of things. Okay, so just know that ports are basically areas where your communications go in and out. Different things go through different ports. Okay, so if those are disabled, I will tell you is a matter for concern, especially if you never disable those. So keep an eye on those. All right. I will see you on the next scene. What we're gonna talk about is basically gonna be how to enable security practices. Okay. So now we're gonna talk about how to enable safe practices. Okay. Safe practices really is gonna be a mindset that you're gonna have when you use your computer, because ultimately you are going to be responsible for your own safety when you are online. One of the things I will possibly tell you will be to this is like a catch-all, but try to stay within reputable websites. Don't go to websites where there is porno, there is like offers, or there is any kind of like illegal activity. Usually those websites, you're just basically asking to get hacked. Um, then I would possibly tell you, just be mindful in that aspect when you utilize your computer. Of course, don't send your bank information to anybody, passwords, anybody that asks you for those things. They trying to pretty much hack your system. Most of the official entities, they're not going to ask you for those type of things, and you usually find out on their websites that they will tell you very clear that they will not never ask you for that type of information. All right, so over here, what I'm going to show you now is usually 5 tips that you could basically put in place to try to prevent being hacked. Number one will be use a non-administrator login account. So usually when a lot of people install their software, their operating system, one account is created, and usually that account has administrative rights. That means that you have basically rights over everything that happens in that computer. If you could usually go to Google and then do a search on how to create like another account that doesn't have all those rights, that will be a good thing to do, because basically if your account gets compromised, it doesn't necessarily mean that whoever compromised your account will have access to the rest of the computer functions or files or those things. Right. Number two will be to use strong passwords. Usually 8 or more characters, mix upper, lowercase characters and numbers, and also special symbols whenever you can. If you have to write them down, make sure that you keep the written down piece of paper in a safe place if that's what you have to do. But usually it will be more difficult for someone that's trying to basically hack your machine, hack your passwords, to guess those passwords. All right. So try to use that 8 characters or more, mix upper lower cases, characters and numbers, and then also special characters if you can. Number three, again, stay away from questionable websites. Usually when there is porno, there is illegal gambling, there is drugs, those type of things. It could pretty much cause um, for your system to be hacked. So be careful with that. Another one is to cover your camera. Just take a piece of tape, cover your camera. Some of the backdoor software, they could actually look at you through your own camera. So just cover it, and then if you have to use it, take the piece of tape, use the camera, and then cover it again when you finish. Remember that. That's very important. Not only that they could look at you, but they could look at your family in the background, those type of things. They could look at maybe things that you're wearing. They will know how you look like, etc. So be careful with that. Cover your camera. And number 5 will be to enable firewalls and use any available virus scan software. Whatever operating system you have, make sure that you scan your system periodically for viruses. Do that. That will be a good thing. If you can, try to understand how, what firewalls do, and make sure that you know where to turn it on and turn it off. And one more tip that I'm going to give you at the very end is to get with your internet service provider and make sure that your routers and modems have the latest firmware. Firmware is more like the software that is used within that device that controls that device. Well, in some cases, those firmwares over time they expose certain vulnerabilities, and whenever the manufacturer rolls out the new firmware, that new firmware has those vulnerabilities already addressed on the new firmware. So the main thing that you will have to do with that will be to contact your internet service provider if you obtain the modem or the router with your service provider, and ask them to make sure that the firmware in your modem or router is up to date. Okay. All right, guys. This is the end of the video. Thank you for watching. Again, press the like button, smash the like button, destroy the like button, subscribe to as well, so we could continue to gain support for future videos. All right. Thank you very much, and I will see you on the next video.